Here's the deal with Barinder Rasodi, Jodie Emery, and Lee Checkstead. And we're starting off, we're going to actually give you the floor, Barinder. 22 murders in Surrey. And I don't know, I have to call into question, and Mayor Diane Watts is a very lovely woman, but she seems to think that somehow this is cyclical. How can a murder rate be cyclical?
Well, I think one of the first things that we have to identify is this is a real human tragedy. It's a tragedy for the families. It's a tragedy for the victims who, in most cases in Surrey, have chosen a lifestyle that would only lead to this kind of outcome. But especially for our community in the neighbourhood, we have worked so hard. Abbotsford's gone through this. Langley's been on the front page of the province as the murder capital. Vancouver had a murder rate of 26 people. And the challenge we have is we've got to be talking about prevention. We've got to be talking about what it is that promotes this type of lifestyle for those who are engaged in this type of lifestyle. But B, also, we've got to look at the federal government. How many of these people have committed violent acts prior to their death or them killing somebody where they should have been locked away for a very, very long period of time? So
you're saying some of these murderers are repeat offenders?
Yes, absolutely. Most of them are known to police. The other cases that we've had in Surrey have been directly linked to either domestic abuse or mental illness, which is, again, another level of government that we rely on to support our communities. And, you know, RCMP officers and the mayor has now initiated a task force to ask some tough questions, because that's our role. When people in our community don't feel safe, that's not okay. No. So we need to do everything that we can. The RCMP is doing everything that they can, but really there's some systematic changes that need to take place. Support for mentally ill people, more addiction services, and stiffer sentences for those who are charged with serious assault the first time they do it.
Jodie?
Well, tougher sentences and even the threat of being murdered in the street doesn't deter people from getting involved in gang violence. And it's very true. It's tragic. There are police and people who have to respond to bloody scenes of violence, and it's horrific, and they do great work. And I know the police are trying their hardest to use what they have to stop this gang violence, but they can't. You can only address the symptoms of the problem. We need to look at what's causing the problem. And for a lot of young people, they cannot resist the allure of huge amounts of money in the drug trade. It's hard to get a job as it is, and when they see all the flash and money and bling, it's hard for them not to want to sell drugs. And the drug trade, again, they know that they could get arrested. They know they can go to prison for long periods of time, but that doesn't deter them. You have to address the problem source, and that's prohibition of drugs, which creates the criminal underworld that sells them.
Right, but clearly you're not asking for cocaine to be legalized, methamphetamine.
Yes, I am actually. Yes, there are law enforcement against prohibition who believe all drugs should be legal. And I know it sounds crazy, but people can look up law enforcement against prohibition LEAP. And here's the thing. We sell a lot of drugs that are dangerous and kill people. There are painkillers and alcohol and all sorts of substances hurting people every day. And yet there are a few substances made illegal, and that doesn't protect anyone from using them. It only allows for a criminal market to sell them. If you criminalize something, the distributors will be criminals.
All right, so, Barinder, legalize meth, legalize heroin, legalize crack?
You know, and I know Jodie has invested so much thoughtfulness in terms of her position, but I just can't go there. As a mother of 3 young kids and seeing the devastation that illegal substances like crack and heroin, the easy addiction, young women using it for weight loss and then being addicted for life.
We should ban probably all alcohol from anybody, because young people use that far more than illegal drugs. It's not about...
Jodie, so they don't get addicted.
One and not the other.
But exactly, it's about the principle here. Are we talking about substances that are dangerous for society? And if so, we need to make them all illegal. But clearly, making them illegal doesn't make it safer.
No, and
illegal drugs are more available in schools than alcohol.
Teenagers are all over alcohol and pot and even cocaine.
We need to educate them to make responsible choices. Threatening people with arrest does not protect our children. It endangers them.
Is there any country in the world where all of these drugs are legal?
Yes, not legal, but decriminalized. And they did that in Portugal a decade ago. All drugs, cocaine, everything. They found that youth use dropped. Criminal organizations lost money. All the research has shown that when you make the drugs laws less severe. Young people use drugs less often.
I feel like there'd be a spike before all of that. Before you'd get to those results, I feel like there would be a whole lot of kids using a whole lot of booze, a whole lot of people ODing on drugs.
How does prohibition protect us now? Decades of task force, decades of billions of dollars.
I understand that, but I think one of the questions that should be asked, and I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't know the answer to this, but the addictive quality of the drug for each drug is significantly different.
Oh yeah, but teenagers aren't going out and buying methamphetamine. Parents don't need to be worried about that. Teenagers are getting drunk. Teenagers are accessing alcohol.
Yeah, but you're saying to legalize cocaine and heroin, which I think is quite extreme.
Which would make it more like alcohol and tobacco, where you can have age restrictions. Drug dealers don't ask for ID, and when kids go get their pot...
addiction doesn't look at age. Addiction's not going to say,
how many young people are addicted to
15, you should get addicted, and 65,
but there aren't young kids injecting heroin. They end up on the street because of a policy that puts them there, because they're failed by a system, and it's the drugs that are illegal that we're talking about here, but they're no different than the drugs that kill people every single day that the government sells.
Yeah, but we've had 15-year-old girls killed by heroin recently.
Oh, absolutely. It happens. Peanut butter kills people too, you know. Water kills people. Cars kill people. That doesn't mean you arrest your way out of the problem.
But we don't consume peanut butter for the euphoria.
But coffee is legal, and it makes
but coffee
people feel good.
Coffee isn't going to debilitate me so that I can't contribute to earning a wage or taking care of my children or functioning on a day-to-day basis. But I think the drugs that you've outlined here are significantly different than alcohol. We're
not talking about legalizing it to give it to kids. We're talking about legalizing it so we can control it and restrict it and have age restrictions. Because right now, when it's illegal, drug dealers don't have any restrictions. They don't care who they sell it to.
No, they don't. But as you pointed out, even with restrictions on alcohol, kids are still using it.
But again, criminal penalties are not solving any of the problems. If we want to protect
I think if we did proper criminal penalties for people who engage in serious crimes like assault.
But are there such a? But is there?
They execute people for drugs. That doesn't stop them from doing it.
I have to agree with Jodie in that I don't think, because I think so many things happen in the heat of the moment, and that you aren't thinking, oh, I could go to jail for life. People don't think that when they're pulling the trigger.
But you do need to realize that when you're choosing a certain lifestyle where you're either selling or hanging out with,
let's get rid of that job.
Well,
let's get rid of that job position.
Jodie, it's not even just that particular job.
But it is. Being a drug dealer is a job. We need to get rid of that job position. If young people want to sell drugs, they better go to pharmacy school and learn how to sell them over the counter legally. But right now, when it's illegal, it's put into their hands.
I think what we've done is muddled a whole bunch of issues here, right? We're talking about stiff penalties for people who are committing crimes so that they're not given another opportunity to have a revolving door so they commit them again. The whole legalizing of the drugs is a conversation that I think is taking place around marijuana, which I think at this point, from all the research I've seen, it's pretty defensible and debatable. But to talk about heroin and cocaine, throwing that into the mix,
but it's all tied in.
You know what? No, I don't
spend
agree.
More than an hour-long show on this. Well, it is, because gangs would not exist without a drug trade.
You've got to take away their job.
Prostitution only.
Yeah, but that's like saying the guy who's selling TV out of the back of his truck that stole TVs.
But they don't, because there's not
that's a part of the gang world.
People, because there's not a lot of money to be made.
But the gang world is just not about drugs. It's about stolen property. It's about extortion. It's a whole level of seriousness. And then the police can focus on that once they stop, because
75%, 3/4 of the federal budget used in courts deal with drug cases, drugs that they sell over the counter already.
What about treating those people when they first come to this doorstep of the court, having community courts where people are being put over
right now.
I don't disagree with you on that point. I do think people are being failed by the court system.
Because
and when
the money
your first
and
offense
focus
happens,
is in the wrong place.
Yeah, you should get the support and the treatment so you're not engaging in domestic abuse or gang activity.
So
yes, definitely, court reform is something I'll talk with you. But legalizing cocaine and heroin is just not.
Well, that's the only way to take it out of the hands of gangs.
Off the table.
Off the table. All right.
Well, gangs would love you for saying so. They would. No, prohibition benefits gangs. And they're the ones who want it to stay illegal. Trust me, they love it.
They sure do. Boy, I hardly feel worthy of throwing this next topic on the table. Walmart in Richmond. But you know what? I think really quickly, Walmart in Richmond, they finally caved at Richmond City Council. They've been fighting this for a decade. Walmart in Surrey.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a Walmart in Surrey, very thoughtfully planned, with support of the community. Big box does have impact on business, so it does have impact, but we do have a Walmart.
Yeah. Shop at Walmart?
No, I haven't, but I mean, when I was younger in Kamloops, but you know, people who shop there want to shop there. People who don't want to shop there, hey, let it be.
And let's move on to the big sort of online one today. Oxford Dictionary Online has named its 2013 Word of the Year, and it is selfies. I understand you ladies tweeted out a selfie.
Yes, we did.
That's right. I saw Squire doing one, so I wanted to join in.
I think English is a living language, and while I want to cringe, it's Latin is dead. We can't change it from the past, so English is still living. We've got to go with it.
Yeah.
We have to change.
Selfies are a new social context. I mean, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and that's all she does is take selfies. And Jodie, you said it's self-documentation, but honestly, I think it's going a little overboard.
Yeah, if you get too vain in any way, you know, standing in front of a mirror or a phone, you know, time to back off and go in the real world.
Yeah, it is. And we were talking about it in the commercial break because both Lee and I were at the hockey game on Sunday, and we both sat near people who were taking selfies of themselves.
And then looking at them, longingly, looking at themselves.
I know, it's just too much
over and over.
Self-reflection, don't you think?
Yeah, probably. Yes. Maybe we'd all benefit from a huge power outage where we had to look at other people in the eyes for long periods of time.
Good idea. Just take pictures of your friends and let them take pictures of you and capture the moment. All right, ladies, thank you for this fruitful discussion. All right, Jodie Emery, Berinda Rassotti, and Lee Checkstead. Coming up next, Health Minister Terry Lake. A new job posting went up today. So when can seniors expect to have someone on their side? Details on the search for an advocate next.